Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is mastering the art of the follow-up. For newer real estate investors, mastering the art of following up with leads is crucial. In the competitive world of real estate investing, leads are the lifeblood of your business. But remember, it's not just about the quantity of leads you gather, it's about how effectively you nurture them. Following up with leads promptly and consistently is key. When you get a potential lead, whether it's a property seller, a buyer, a fellow investor, or a real estate agent, timely follow-up shows your professionalism and commitment. This not only helps in building strong relationships, but also increases the likelihood of turning these leads into successful deals. Effective follow-up strategies could include personalized letters, phone calls, or even face-to-face meetings. The goal is to remain at the top of their mind and to demonstrate your dedication and expertise in real estate. So remember, the fortune is in the follow-up. By diligently nurturing your leads, you enhance your reputation, grow your network, and significantly boost your chances of success in the real estate market. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us Scott Royal Smith. Scott is a new breed of real estate attorney with a great sense of humor and a gift for simplifying the complex. As a former litigation attorney, Scott has a deep understanding of how lawsuits really work. More importantly, he is a real estate investor himself with properties in 10 states. Now he's sharing his expertise with the world and is committed to helping other real estate investors protect their assets and more so, their futures. It is my honor to have him on the show, so welcome, Scott Royal Smith.
What's up, Jen? Good to be with you again.
How are you?
Good. Yeah,
And
everything is good here out in Austin, Texas.
I was going to say, you're coming to me from Austin, Texas. Love it. Austin is very similar to Raleigh. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. We get compared for all these top 10 lists all the time of, places to move to, things like that. So I'm with you. I'm a big fan.
Wow, we're so special. Look at us.
We are so special.
So good.
I am excited to have you on the show. I mean, someone who says they have a great sense of humor. I mean, let's get this party started. And how can you have a great sense of humor with being an attorney? Sometimes, right? But I know you have some great nuggets for us. And I want to start with your background, though. How did you get involved with real estate, with being an attorney? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Tell us all about your background.
So I actually got started in real estate when I was in law school, and I bought a transmission and auto repair shop and commercial building for back taxes. So that was like a $10K investment, and I was like, well, worst case scenario, I can flip it and make $5,000 and see how it goes. But me and a partner decided to build the business and redo the building, and then flipped it to graduate from law school without any debt. And that's when I fell in love with real estate. So I started investing in real estate while I was, working as a litigation attorney, suing insurance companies until I hit my first 10, properties. And then I was like, great, well, I'm making more money doing real estate than I am being an attorney. So I'm just going to go do real estate investing. And so I can live this, lifestyle of going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro and living in the jungle and the Amazon and doing all these things I wanted to do. And that's when I found out that, there's so much more to how to be able to accomplish this free lifestyle that has so much more than to do with just income coming in, because it never was really passive. So that's why I started to come in to, even if I had property managers, I had to manage the property managers, and then my assets would run out of depreciation. So I had to find new assets to buy to help offset all my taxes. And so what I had to do is build a system, a process, teams of people together. I spent years and years trying to figure this out, because what I'm really about is how do you live the most free lifestyle possible. And that's what Royal Legal Solutions became, as a company that I built for myself. And then other people decided that they wanted to also piggyback off of all my hard work. And I call those people my clients. So we've helped about 2,000 people over the last 50 years. About 2,000 people over the last 12 years in all 50 states.
I was going to say, you don't look like you've been in business for 50 years.
I moisturize. Don't worry. Yeah.
So can you just glazed over the fact that you lived where and you did what were you doing? You lived.
Yeah. Well, to me, like I really sat early on, and I found a lot of people that had a lot of money and were really miserable. And it seemed like I was meeting billionaires, and these billionaires would tell me they were spending 20 to 30 hours a week managing their wealth. So it seemed really clear to me at that point to say, like, the game isn't actually won by having a bunch of money. There must be something else that everybody's missing. So what are they missing? And the pieces that people are missing is systems, processes, and teams. And so when you can have enough money and be really clear about what it is you want to do in life, right? I call that the road trip, right? And the road trip can be anything. For me, it was going to climb, Mount Kilimanjaro and traveling through Africa and South America and living in the Amazon with indigenous people, and going to India and studying, all different types of wisdom that was out there. Those are the things that attracted me in life. That was my road trip. What I realized is, like, on the road trip, though, I just need gas. Money is just gas, right? It's just gas to be able to put in the car to go on the road trip. So the game becomes, well, how dependable can I get with gas for the car so I can make sure that it's there? And how little time does it really take me to make sure in a way that's responsible that I'm going to have enough gas so I can go do the thing, which is what the whole point is, which is enjoying the road trip.
That is awesome. And you lived with, what'd you say? Where'd you live?
Yeah, so it was, I lived a few different places, traveled a lot through Europe, but the biggest experience I had was actually living in the Amazon.
The Amazon. So I was still like picking my jaw up from all the places that you said. So you lived in the Amazon with you said a tribe?
Yeah, okay. So it's a tribe called the Yawanawa.
Okay.
They're in Acre, Brazil. So you got to fly into like Rio Branco, which is about a day and a half of travel from the United States just to get there. And then it's like an 8-hour riverboat to go. And then you just kind of pull off to the side of a bank and you're like, great, we're here in the tribe. And then you're just there, living with the tribe, doing the work that they do out there, which is a lot about spiritual growth and, what is it? Connectedness to yourself, connectedness to nature, and then kind of creating that space away from everything. Their tradition.
Sounds like a dream. Thank you for sharing that. So I glazed over because I was like, wait, what? I was trying to keep up with all the different things that you were doing. So let's get back into Royal Legal Solutions, and they are based in Austin, but you work with people in all 50 states. And what are some of the main things that you help real estate investors with legally?
Yeah. So Royal Legal Solutions, it is a byproduct of everything I need to create for myself. So it has a legal division, which is all your asset protection, estate planning. It has all the tax division with the CPAs and accountants and stuff that are there that are needed for all of your tax filing, portfolio management, CFOs, MBAs. And then, we also have like an investing division for, people that need help placing investments. So the legal front is just one of many pieces that actually need to work together, and they need to all work together in a very particular way to be most efficient and effective for this holistic thing called your wealth. your wealth building company. This is what you're really building. When you start playing this game of accumulating assets, is you're actually building a wealth building company. And that's why it's so hard, is because you might not be a seasoned entrepreneur realizing that you're playing the game of building a wealth building company. You're like, why is this so complicated? It's like, well, because entrepreneurialism is really hard. And one of the part of any business is legal. And the part of legal that impacts us as people in this real estate investing game is, one, it's estate planning. How do we make sure that all the stuff that we built goes to our family? It doesn't get caught up in a probate court process. We have court process when we die. So that way it doesn't go to them. We'll make sure our kids are adequately taken care of and everything there. The other part is how to make sure that we're bulletproof to lawsuits. We call that asset protection. And the way you become bulletproof to lawsuits is making sure you're hidden. Hiding assets using anonymity structures is not only good to stop lawsuits before they start, because it looks like you qualify for food stamps if anybody ever looks into you to see if you're a good target for a lawsuit. But it also does this other thing where it just gives you some more privacy. It's kind of creepy that people can just start Google searching and find out everything that you own. So I really love having anonymity. And then the other side of it is your liability protection. And that's your LLCs and those kinds of things that you know about.
Huge. And I mean, I was just teaching some newer students recently just about choosing a business name. I'm like, do not use your last name in your business. You know, that's another layer of protection right there. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into this. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that newer investors do when starting with real estate investing?
Yeah, most people ask me, when is the right time to start to get protected? Because they're owning all the assets in their personal name. Well, if you don't have anything and you don't care, or you don't care about what you have, then it doesn't matter, right? Like, if you wouldn't cry if you lost it, then don't pay to protect it.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Well said.
Fair enough, right? So, but if it's something they said, I'm going to cry if I lose it, then maybe think about protecting it. And that's where it really comes into place, right? So the biggest mistake people make is that they get umbrella insurance policies. I'll say, I got a $5 million umbrella insurance policy. I'm fine, right? And I own all the assets in my personal name. A friend of mine did that, and that was actually my wake-up call.
They own the assets in their personal name.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have an umbrella insurance policy. They don't have any LLCs or other trusts or anything in place. And a friend of mine, in the very beginning, was actually one that was advising me to do that. And I actually operated like that for a while. And then he ended up getting sued and lost $3 million from a single lawsuit, because the umbrella insurance policies, they only protect you against accidents. So these deals that he was getting into and contracts he was signing, when one of them went sideways, they sued him, and he's like, well, my insurance policy will take care of that. And the insurance company's like, nope, we don't take care of anything that has to do with anybody saying that you lied to him, or that they said you breached a contract or anything like that. We only take care of accidents, like somebody slips and falls on your property, or like it burns down or something like that. And so he's like, oh, shucks. So he lost $3 million. And then the next day I was like, I'm going to get serious about asset protection. Started reading all the books and talking to everybody I could find. And that's where I came up with these structures like the Series LLC, which allows you to have like one company that you pay for, that you operate through for your asset protection, but you can create an infinite number of LLCs for free, essentially. So I was really curious about, like, how do you make everything really streamlined operationally through a single bank account, single set of accounting books, single EIN number, but I can compartmentalize every asset. So that way, if they sue me, they can't get anything. If they sue one of my assets, because somebody gets, grandma falls through the stairs on one of the houses, that, she can only go after that one house. She can't go after all my other houses. She can't go after my stock account. She can't come after me. It really limits the pool about which people can hurt you.
So you have one holding company, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, you want to use a Series LLC for your holding company.
Okay.
Have it anonymous and own all your assets anonymously through land trust. So you'll use that combination, Series LLC and trust, for anonymity and compartmentalization of each of the assets. And then separately, what you want to use is an LLC called an operating company, is where you don't own anything in your operating company, but you do everything through it. So you're going to send all your emails through there. You're going to sign all your contracts through that company, everything that touches the outside world. So your asset holding company owns everything and doesn't do anything. Your operating company does everything and doesn't own anything. And in this way, you create a structure that defeats lawsuits before they start. I had a client that got sued regarding some plumbing that was in a house that she had sold. And the buyer was on vacation, house leaked, $75,000 in damages.
Ooh.
Said, you lied to me about the house, right? And she's like, I didn't lie to you, right? And then she's like, she came to me and said, yeah, Scott, I guess honesty is not a defense to lawsuits. And I was like, right. Doesn't matter if you're honest. People get hurt. What do they want to do? They want to blame you. That's what the reality of lawsuits are. But what I did is I went to the attorney. I said, listen, you're going to have a really big problem, buddy, because, regardless of whether you think my client lied to you and that going to trial and 12 random strangers coming off the street to be able to make a decision about something. I said, if you say that, she lied to you, then, that would have came from her LLC who sent you the emails, and that company doesn't own anything. Or you could say, well, it was the company that sold the asset, which was the child series of her series LLC. Well, that's the only asset of that child series. When it took in the money from the sale, we already distributed the money out. So that child series of her series LLC doesn't own anything either. So even if you're successful with the lawsuit, you're going to end up with zero. There's nothing there to collect against. They're going to be able to get to. And so they dropped the lawsuit completely, even though they might have had a decent claim, a decent enough to get a settlement. But that's how we're, beating, a lawsuit a month, for our clients, is because the structures are so strong, you win without having to ever really get involved in the litigation.
So does this replace, because we have multiple LLCs, we have our holding company that does all of our business through their emails, et cetera, what you're saying. But then we have separate LLCs for, one houses a rental property, one houses, 3 of our rental properties. But then we have our flipping business. We also have our construction company. So there are separate LLCs for that. Are you saying that it's something different than, are you saying child series? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So what you're using right now are traditional LLCs.
Correct.
And what a series LLC can do that's special is it acts as like a parent, and it can spawn as many children as it wants. Each child is called a child series of the series LLC. And they act just like individual LLCs for liability purposes, but they're free to create and they don't cost anything to maintain. So you can create one series LLC and then essentially create an infinite number of LLCs for free after that. So the game to play is to say, well, for my assets, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one series LLC, and then I'm going to put each individual asset into its own child series and into its own land trust. So that way I can compartmentalize and hold anonymity for every single asset that I own of any type that I have. And why would you want to do that? Well, it's because let's say that your LLC right now that has 3 properties located in, if somebody gets, seriously injured or there's an environmental issue on one of those properties, what do they do?
They can go after the other 2.
LLC. Yeah. And because the LLC owns 3 properties, they get to take all of the properties that the LLC owns and any cash that's held inside of that LLC's bank account, because you might have not distributed it, right? As well too, right? So once the lawsuit gets filed, it's too late. So it's very important with asset protection that everything is done proactively. And it takes about, 6 weeks to get everything cleaned up and set up, regardless of whether you're brand new or whether you have existing structures that need to get cleaned up. But anybody can, get to a place where their life can become more simple, that their ongoing costs can become reduced, and that they can have better protection. So
a child series, does it act like an LLC? So I can have a banking account for that one, or, it just is structured. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Exactly the same. Yeah, it's exactly the same. You get an infinitely expandable company.
Wow. I just got to take a second to let this sink in. So
can you believe they've been around for over 20 years?
No, I don't believe that.
Almost 30 years now. And like people are still like, well, people don't know about it, And then some people, well, we don't know if it's really good enough, or like if it's really going to hold up. And I was like, well, it's been around almost as long as LLC laws, and all the same LLC laws apply to series LLCs. And so it's really, I think that it's really what happens is that it's very niche. It's typically only people like real estate investors that need a ton of companies, because what we're trying to do is compartmentalize all these assets, and that's just not very common. So we have such a niche problem that this is a really niche solution. So to me, it's not all that surprising we haven't heard about it. I'm just more surprised that we aren't all using them.
Yeah. Agreed. And so, for example, I love my local attorney that we use for our LLCs, but we just got a shit ton of bills to do all of our minutes and do all that. And we have to pay a fee for that.
Yeah, you don't even need to do that. So the issue is that what you want to do is create LLCs inside of states that have charging order protection. So that's Delaware, Texas, Nevada, or Wyoming, right? Unless you have like an LLC that's purely an operating company and that'll be in your home state. But if you create the LLCs in the right states, what can happen is that you can actually waive the any of the yearly minutes and other things that you have to do because the state laws will allow you to do that. So there's just a ton of things that if you are really experienced in these that you just don't have to do and you don't have to pay the cost for, and it streamlines your life. So sorry to jump in on you to it, but it's really one of those things that like, people like the comfort of somebody who's local. But my advice to everybody is that you should always be working with people that make money the same way that you make money. Because it's not that they just know the theory, is that they know the application inside of like the business. And most attorneys, CPAs, et cetera, they're just simply not sophisticated real estate investors. And that's how I built all of my wealth, has been doing this and helping people do the same thing. And that's the difference. Right.
And I get that. And my guy happens to be in real estate as well. So, but we had our holding company in Wyoming, and then it was cheaper to like get rid of that one completely and go through North Carolina. So interesting. Scott, this is great stuff. So while we are on this topic, and what you said, you have to have the right people on your team. So how do you create an investment dream team?
Yeah. So I actually have a video on the homepage of my website where we walk you through like, here's everything that we create inside of Royal Legal Solutions. Here's all the asset protection systems. Here's all the people you're going to need. Here's the meeting processes, et cetera. And we do the same thing for asset protection, everything for the estate planning of like, hey, you need to be looking at your estate planning once every year, making sure all the assets are transferred into the estate plan, updating your sheet about like, what are the bank accounts? Where are they located? What's the login information for all those things, et cetera, right? All those systems and processes, including, tax, financial analysis to be able to make sure, are you making the right investments to actually hit your goals, and how much money do you need to be placing there, and how's your portfolio performing? So I break it all down in the video, partly because to show you this is actually what it takes if you want to be creating an A+ wealth building company. You're going to need these kinds of people, systems and processes and strategies, and getting them to work together. And then that's what Royal Legal Solutions offers, is we have a done for you solution that we can get done in 6 weeks. So here it all is. And you can go to the world and try to find your own people and create it all on your own. It took me about 6 years of working full time to be able to create at that level of sophistication. Or, you can have it done for you. And then we have a vault that has 11 ebooks, hundreds of hours of videos that we use to train our staff if you're just looking to get educated. So I try to play the game in the way that says, I'll teach you, this is exactly what you need to do. Here's all the underlying content that you're going to need to study to be able to do it. And you can either do that, it's totally free, just to have all the access to my brain and everything that I put together for you. And here's, if you want to pay us, we have a done for you solution. Then we can get it done for you quickly and then train you into how to use it. So that's, I hope that recaps about like, some of the places of like, here's how to approach what it is that you need to do. And
can you just give me some examples of who is on the stream team?
Yeah. So, what you really need is you need an attorney. But first of all, everybody needs to be a real estate investor, right? They need to have shown you some like critical things, right? So what you're really looking for is people that are paying somewhere between 0 to 7% per year in tax. That needs to be like your CPA needs to be doing that for themselves. Your CFO role needs to be able to show you financial analysis to get you down to 3 essential KPIs, which is your net worth, your cash flow, and your total tax liability. Also needs to be able to look at your portfolio to be able to answer one very particular question, which is, given these goals, whatever your goals happen to be, this is the exact kind of investment you need to make. You need to put X amount of dollars into this particular deal because it's going to drive this much cash flow, this much net worth, and it's going to give you this much depreciation to help you offset whatever your taxes are to get you into that 0 to 7%. Then what you need is an estate planning attorney that understands generational wealth building and how it's going to work, because you're not building these assets really for you, right? You're typically building for your family and because you want to provide for that appropriately. So it's about how do you adequately plan for that? Then you need an asset protection attorney to help you with your LLCs and trusts to create the anonymity and compartmentalization of the assets. If they're recommending something in such a way that you need more than 2 bank accounts, you're probably doing it wrong. If you're having to maintain more than 2 entities on an annual basis, probably doing it wrong.
What if those entities are different businesses, though?
Well, if they're active businesses, great, right? But that's not really your real estate investing typically, right? You're really only going to have up to 3 companies: your flipping company, your long-term asset holding company, and maybe your operating company. But most people are only doing 2, right? You're really typically not doing 3. And then you need an investment strategist. You need somebody who's going to be on your team that's going to be essentially like your deal pipeline. And the way that you build deal pipelines is you typically need to spend somewhere between $30,000 to $50,000 a year flying around the country to go hang out with people that are the top of the investing game. These are guys and girls that this is what they do professionally. They're typically worth somewhere between $5 and $25 million. They're professional investors, and it's about getting face time with them to be able to sit in the hot tubs in the conference rooms and whatever, to pick their brain, to learn about their deal pipelines and how they're betting. Because if you're looking to get returns on your investments that are in the 20 to 30% range with tax benefits that can get you an extra 10 to 20% return on the investment, and you want those to be safe deals, well, that's 1 out of 100 good deal operators and syndicators, right? Because most deals are bad. And in fact, the vast majority of deals are bad. So this deal pipeline becomes everything. Sure. And so it takes huge amounts of time and money investment to be able to build what is going to be the safe, steady stream of the types of investments that come through. At least in my experience, if somebody else is everybody has a different experience when it comes to things like that. But that's as best I've been able to figure out, as these are the types of people, what you need to be looking for from them. And some critical numbers and what my journey was like in being able to build all of those facets for myself.
Nice. And how do the listeners find Royal Legal Solutions? If they want this all done for them and you have the team ready to do it for them, how do they find these people?
Yeah. So best thing to do is just go to royallegalsolutions.com. There's the video that's there on the homepage, which I think everybody should check out. It's an insanely valuable piece of information just to help you understand the game it is that you're really playing at a really high level, but in a way that you can understand. It's the very best education I've been able to put together. That will change your life if you just watch that one video. And I don't mean that flippantly. I mean, seriously, like it will save you years and years of bumping around to be able to figure out. Then there's a link there to be able to schedule a phone call with our paralegal team and legal team. You'll never talk to a salesperson at RLS. It'll always be a professional that I've hired and trained. And then there's also the vault in the top right-hand corner of the website. And that's where you get to 11 ebooks, hundreds of hours of videos. You can actually ask questions directly to the professional team, the CPAs, CFOs, attorneys there for free. You don't have to pay anything for that. And that's really the best thing to do. But if for anybody, if you have like one thing, on your car ride home, maybe pop up in Royal Legal Solutions and watch the video that's there on the homepage. I guarantee you that it will be, I'll give you $100 if it's not, if you know everything that's already in that video.
Well, I can't wait to check it out. But before we go into the second part of the podcast here, the opening line to your intro says, no one wants to be sued, but let's face it, if you're playing the real estate game, it's only a matter of time. And I've only been sued once and I got out of it immediately, thank goodness, because I had a coach teach me, how to cover my assets. And so one of them, against my better judgment, because I do not prepay my contractors, I was working with a new window installer. This is silly, but he's like, oh, I get a much better price if I got to pay for the windows up front. And so I take half up front as a deposit. And I said, well, I'll just pay the supply company directly. And he said, oh, no, I get a, better discount if you go through me. And I said, against my better judgment, I went ahead and paid him. Well, 6, 7, 8 months later, let me reverse here for a second. So before I gave him his final paycheck, I had him sign a lien waiver, which thank goodness that was taught to me, and I keep them until I die. They are in a folder. So 6, 7, 8 months later, I get notified from an attorney that I'm getting sued by the window supply company because he never paid them. And I, panicked for a hot minute. I was like, oh, I've never been sued before. And, you're right. It's only a matter of time. And I said, well, I have this lien waiver. Is this going to help? And they said, oh, that's all we need. Thank you. Have a good day. I was like, whew. So my whole long roundabout way to get to this question is, what are some very common things that real estate investors get sued for? And how can we put in ways to protect ourselves?
Yeah.
Is that a loaded question or what?
Yeah, no, I think it's great. Yeah. So you typically, lawsuits can spring up from almost anything, right? So anytime that you're communicating with somebody, that's the basis of a lawsuit, right? At all. It could be an email. It could be a text message. It doesn't have to be a signed contract, right? So, the example I gave you earlier about the client that got sued for $75,000 for the plumbing was based upon an exchange of emails. Oof. Back and forth, right? They said for fraud, right? My friend that got sued for $3 million, that was a contract they assigned that he decided these guys aren't really being upfront about everything. So I want to get out of this contract. And then he ended up getting sued. And he's like, well, they were the ones that were being shady, but he's the one that lost a bunch of money because of it. Then you can have issues with tenants with your leases, right? Because if you sign your leases in your personal name, then all of a sudden, guess what? If something goes wrong there, then now they're suing you. Well, how much money do you have in your personal name? What about your stock accounts? What about your primary home? Or maybe you have some properties, but you don't have them in LLCs correctly, right? So I'd say, those are just really, basic things. But the real issue is that you actually will never see the lawsuit coming. You can't. Because the world is actually just way too complex. Nobody actually knows how they're going to get sued. So the game, kind of like I told you earlier, where it was we set up the structure so that we don't care about the facts. It didn't matter about what statements she made in the emails. The fact is that the structure stepped in to protect her because we actually didn't know what was going to pop up, right? But cool, here it is. It's the same thing with any type of litigation that's going to come up, whether it's going to be from a tenant dispute or somebody getting hurt on your property, or a health and a mold issue that could come up, or a contract that you sign for a house, but you end up wanting to back out of it because, for whatever reason, right? That you want, or that, you got into a bad car accident and hurt a bunch of people, right? Not that you meant to, but things happen. Right. All of these kinds of things. And you don't know which ones are going to happen. So what do is you put in affordable, super strong, strategic types of protection. And if you do this, then life continues to go up and to the right. It continues to get better over time. And life is really terrible when you have really sharp down spikes. That's when we say, holy smokes, everything is so terrible, right? But if you can keep life moving steady up and to the right, your life experience will be that everything keeps getting better. And wouldn't that be the story you want to tell people when people ask you, how's it going? You're like, I can't believe it. It all just keeps getting better.
I'm just going to spend the next 3 months living in the Amazon and doing my thing, getting dropped off at the bank. And, I love all of this, Scott. This has been very eye-opening. And listeners, if you want to learn more, make sure you check out royallegalsolutions.com. And this is some great stuff. You taught me about the whole child series. Do I call it child series? Parent company, child, parent series, child.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, the Parent Series LLC, create an infinite number of child series.
And that's a different LLC. Is it tax-wise filed completely differently, or?
No, it's just a different filing with the Secretary of State, but taxes, it works exactly the same. So it works exactly the same because it's just all the underlying children goes all up to the parent. And then for you, it works exactly the same for taxes, bookkeeping, banking, everything in your life works exactly the same. You just end up having better protection.
And as a former middle school teacher, I'm allergic to children. So do you think I'd be able to do this and get a child? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well,
I'm allergic to children.
We'll give you some antihistamines, and you'll have enough money to buy extra.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, Scott, this has been great. And we are going to move on to the second part of the podcast here. And I use the acronym BADASS. And the first letter is B for book. What's a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
Yeah, there's this guy named Mickey, and he wrote this book called Living Untethered. And this book is Mickey actually was like a spiritualist and a yogi when he was in his PhD program in economics. And then he decided he wanted to drop out of school and then became a pretty devout yogi living in a field in Gainesville, Florida. And then went on to just get one of the very first computers, built the very first software company, and became a billionaire. And so this book actually taught me a lot about saying, like, if you really are willing to commit to living a life that's in alignment with yourself, that all the things that you really want in life will unfold. And so that this life is not about fighting. It's actually about just coming into alignment with what's really true for you.
Wow. And this all from a field in Gainesville.
From a field in Gainesville. I mean, it's the craziest thing in the world. He got one of the first computers before there was even manuals to teach people how to program. He taught himself how to program, built the very first medical billing software that it was, and then became a billionaire. And if you go, I spent 3 weeks with him out in Gainesville here, like over this last summer. And he's just this peaceful, super sweet, like loving, 70-year-old guy. And he just happens to be worth like billions of dollars and loves to just bring people together about saying, like, cool, come into alignment with what's true for you in life, and everything will unfold beautifully, from there.
Very cool. I will definitely have to check that out. One more time, what's the name of that book?
Living Untethered.
Untethered. Oof, yeah. I like it. All right. The first A in BADASS is for advice. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Relax. Relax.
I thought you were just talking to
me. Yeah.
So,
I was talking to you, Jen.
P.S. Yeah. Don't ever tell a woman to relax. So that I got like a twit. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. It is really funny, right? That is a trigger word that's used like negatively especially against women.
Oh,
right?
Relax.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like a way to discount your feelings, right?
Yeah.
As to say, like, hey, you should relax right now. And no, really, it's maybe you could reclaim that word, and reclaim that word for a different meaning for you, because I'd offer to you that opportunity, because the word is so powerful. So many times that I have my entire podcast on is Real Estate Nerds, is about people's best and worst deals and what they did or didn't do that led them there. And uniformly, when people got into their worst deals, they weren't relaxed. They were either very overly optimistic about what was going to happen, or they were or really pessimistic, right? So relaxation is also about like coming into like the present reality of like what's here, realizing that my mind and emotions are leading me astray to be able to cloud what it is that's actually here in front of me. And that the path to be able to get to a reality, to see it as best as you can and operate from the best information possible, has to do with getting to a place that's relaxed, both in like mind and in emotion.
And what are some techniques that you use to get relaxed?
All you have to do is breathe. It's the simplest thing in the world. If you just sit and focus on your breathing, big inhales, deep exhales, and you do that for long enough, eventually you'll find that your mind and body is relaxed. And then whatever it is you're looking at, you'll say, well, why did I think that was such a big deal? It happens 100% of the time. It's 100% effectiveness rate. And being able to do that. And it's available to you anytime. You're breathing anyway. Why not just use the breathing to help you stay relaxed? It's something you're having to do anyway. It's zero cost and 1,000,000,000% benefit.
I like this because I'm a big believer in meditation, but I try to get my husband to meditate and he's like, I just don't get it. But now I can just say, I just need you to breathe. I think that is a great way to start with it.
I've reprogrammed my whole family, my mom and my sister and everything, as they start like wigging out, especially during the holidays and stuff. I started first just talking about breathing. And now they joke about it. Like if you ever ask Uncle Scott about like what to do in a situation, he would just say, breathe, relax.
I love it.
Okay. If you come to that first, the answer will be obvious. Answers are always obvious once you're relaxed. It's crazy how effective it is.
So good. I'm going to take a breath right now.
Doesn't it feel good?
It does feel good. Thank you. All right, moving on. The D in badass is for drive. What drives Scott Royal Smith to be successful?
The only thing I can find in life that really seems to have any purpose is a being of service. Everything else seems really tenuous. I mean, the money, the buildings, the prestige, the whatever. I mean, what will it matter if I die 3 years, 5 years? Nobody will care. When's the last time you thought about anybody that died over 5 years ago? You don't. You just simply don't think about these people. But we think about everything that we do mattering so much. So I take a different approach and I say, well, really, what's really going to matter is how good can I feel today and what feels like the best. Well, yeah, when there's, sex, drugs, and alcohol, that'll be good for like a little bit. But you try getting really deep into that for about 2 weeks, and then you start to realize that has a pretty short lifespan. But the life of service and having like an aspect of service really is a gift that always pays. And it always pays, and it pays more and more and more over time. So to me, what's being successful is really answering the question of like, what's the best possible life I can live? And to me, the best possible life I can live has everything to do with how I feel every day. And to me, that's ultimately saying like, well, I'll operate from a place of service.
Very, very cool. I'm going to take another breath. Let that one just come over me. All right. The second A in badass is for aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what is a goal you are currently working on?
Yeah, I'm working my way up to $1 million a year in passive income. So I'm close to it. There's some really, good investments and opportunities that I've been able to come across, and that I'm currently helping some clients with as well too. And the goal, it's just a goal, right? It's just there because it's there, and it's because I decided it was something I wanted to achieve at one point in my life, probably because somebody told me that's where you really make it, or something, right? But that's what I'm working towards right now.
Well, I see it coming very near in your future, and don't forget to breathe. All right. The first S in badass is for systems. And I know you probably are a huge systems guy. So what systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
Yeah, the number one system is actually just staying in touch at this point in my journey, right? So, Royal Legal has about 30 people that work beneath me, but I'm not into like much of the day to day, right? So the question is like, how do you, as you get higher and higher in your influence, and how leveraged you are, then what really matters is key relationships. And key relationships comes into service of the people that are holding pillars of your life for you. So who are the key leaders that I have in Royal Legal and other companies and other nonprofits? And the best system I've been able to find is just to carve out, 30 minutes a month for each one of these people. And then simply ask them, how are you doing today? What's been going well for you? What kind of challenges you've been coming up? And come to a place of like holding a space for them. That's really not even necessarily been said, but it by implication, it's that I care enough about you to hold this space for you, to help you in the journey of your life, whatever things are going on for you. And because I care about them and create that space to go through those 3 questions with them over the course of a half hour, then they find that my advice is wise and helpful. And then it creates a space for me to be able to have influence about like, this is what I'd like to see from you to be able to help support my life and whatever it is. And this becomes just like a beautiful exchange of people helping each other instead of any type of like top down system.
That is an excellent, excellent system. And it makes everyone around you feel valued. And not many organizations are like that. And so I love that. All right. To wrap this up, the final S in badass is for success. What does success mean to you?
Yeah, success for me is really just based upon it's in like the now, right? I'm successful if I'm really living like present inside of the now and then being of service to whatever's in front of me like the best I can be. And if I get distracted with like a bunch of like fear or anxiety about what's going to happen in the future, or, somebody, pissed off about somebody cutting me off in traffic, I'm like, great, I'm not successful because like this isn't successful. What's successful is am I enjoying my life right now? That there is no future place that I'm going to enjoy it. I have to get good about being able to enjoy life right now. And that's what success to me is am I in the now enjoying it?
Well, I have enjoyed this interview very much. Thank you for educating me on so many great nuggets. And one more time, how do the listeners find you?
Yeah. Getting to bringing the wealth to a high level of expertise and accomplishing results that you'll actually think are impossible to do is all able to learn about at royallegalsolutions.com.
Ooh, you had that very well prepared. I like that.
I actually just made that up on the spot.
You did not. That was amazing. Well, Scott, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Great to be here.
Absolutely. And that is all. Thank you for listening. And we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.